Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun with Benzion. We're analyzing Kesubos Memches, Kesubos number 48. The Gemara, not 48, 47, I'm sorry. Mem Zion 47. I'm ahead of myself a little bit. 47 start talking about what the husband is responsible to give to his wife. Um, Mem Zion Mem Beis, according to one opinion, says original Brisa says that Mazonos is Darabana, and the fact that you have to feed his wife, he has to support his wife, right? You have to go out to work to make sure your wife has food to eat. It's Darabana because he's entitled to Ramaisi Adayim, right? If she earns wages, he gets that. Now, where does we know that he gets Ramaisi Adayim from? So you could say it's Darabana. Or you could say, which seems from the Gemara, that Ramaisi Adayim goes to the husband because, like the Torah says, Kinyan Kaspo. When I get engaged to a woman, so it's like I bought something. I go and I buy, an Android phone in the store. It belongs to me now. When I paid money for it, it belongs to me. Now, does that mean what does a kinyan really mean? If metaltalin, maybe it means you have a schus, a right to use it. That's what I suggested in Masechtas Vamos, that when a Kohen marries a Yisraelis, he doesn't own her goof and he doesn't own her reshus. She's not in his reshuso. The reason she could eat truma is because he's zocha in her ma'aseh yadayim. He's zocha in her wages. He has a connection to her yachas. I heard this from Rosh Hashiva. When you have a kinyan, it's a yachas, a connection between the two, but it's not in your domain. The object's not in your domain. It's not. It's not part of you. It doesn't belong to you completely. But you have a right to it, and therefore you're supposed to feed her, right? You're supposed to feed her. The Rabbanan say the Rabbanan is supposed to feed her because you get you get her wages. You're zocha. You have a schus to get her ma'aseh yadayim. That's kinyan kaspa. You're zocha and ma'aseh yadayim. Maybe the raisa. So because he's zocha and that's therefore they were misak and mizonos, the Rabbanan in place of it. So it seems like it's the Rabbanan. The Gemara says mizonos the Rabbanan, and the Gemara says Rava says towards the bottom Zayin on base. No, maybe mizonos the raisa. This Tana holds. That ends up being three Tanoim seem to hold that Mizonos is Midoraisa. One Tana learns it out of Sheira, right? There's a pasuk in the Torah, Sheira Ktusa Manasal Yigra by Ama Ivria. And if he marries her, he marries her, the master, or his son marries her, no Yadeno, Sheira Ktusa Manasal Yigra, he has to give her Sheira's food. According to the second opinion, Rebbe Lezer, he says, Onasa is food, Yancha Vayarivecha, Onasa is Mizonos. So seems to be, is it Daraisa or is it Darabanan? So I like to suggest that really it's both. You see from these Braisas which talk about Sherak Tusa Manasal Yigra, it's an Ama Ivria. Right? Ama Ivria is basically owned by the owner. That's where the pasuk is talking about. You give her to a son, she's still property of him. I mean, it's like a slave. She's Ama Ivria. She's a maidservant. She's a slave in a certain sense. So you own her, and you don't have to provide her with the best things in the world. That's why it says, right, Sheira, basically, what type of food do you have to, right? There's different types of food in this world. There's needs and there's wants, right? Technically, people can get by, I don't know, a loaf of bread, hard, crusty bread, is your only food to eat, as A.B. Rodenberg says, some salt, that's good enough, some water, Ma'im Surah Tishta, Paspa Melech Tocha, Ma'im Surah Tishta, it says in Perkei, they can get by on that. And I think Midarai, so that's all he has to give her. Onasa, the Gemara says, right, Ona Hamura Torah, to have sex with her, that, where do you learn that from? You learn from Lavan and Tanes Pinosa. Now, what does that pasuk talk? Lavan says, he warns Yaakov, don't afflict my daughters. That sounds like either not having sex or having sex with them in a way that's going to afflict them. So it could be, right, Biyash Lokedarka, right, from behind, an anus, or it could be, what I think it means is just even having regular sex with a woman. You're ma'ana, a woman, if you just have normal relations with a woman and you do not provide an orgasm for your wife, I believe that's an Iyun for a wife. I think it's guaranteed, the rest guaranteed. Women do not get orgasm, they will feel that they're missing something. Every time that you're together with her, you really owe her an orgasm, and but not midaraisa. The Rabbanan, that's the Torah is saying. Torah is saying, Onasa lo yigra, right? Ama Ivria, you own her, so you could just be together with her, not give her an orgasm. You're entitled to that. And midaraisa, we learn from them. Tana Espinosa, Lavan was saying, he was warning her, don't be ma'ana, right? Don't Iman, and then be together at the end, give them an orgasm. So we learn from that at least the basic, onasa lo yigra, at least to be together with her and not give her an orgasm, that's the basic that you do midoraisa. Mizonos likewise would be basic her, the basic food just to keep her alive. To keep her alive. Susa, we'll see like the Gemara says, very interestingly on Mem Chesem and Aleph, right, the Gemara learns on Yaakov, I don't know if he's arguing on the first two opinions, he's saying it links Sheira and Ksusa. The clothes you give her have to be appropriate for a young woman, should be given clothes of a young woman and not clothes of an 80-year-old lady. Right? Why? Why is that? Because that's basic needs. I mean, you have a 25-year-old girl walking around in grandma's clothes. I mean, it's going to be busha no ra. It's going to be embarrassing. I mean, that's a basic need. She shouldn't be embarrassed. And then it says also you should give her clothes in the winter that are new, so they're warm, and the summer they can be second-hand clothes. You give her second-hand clothes to your wife. You should give her new clothes. What do you mean second-hand clothes? No, the basic needs. She could have second-hand clothes during the summer because they're worn out a little bit. It'll keep her protected from the elements during the summer. She doesn't need warm clothes during the summer. So these are the basics. I mean, right? So these are the basics. We learn from Alma Ivria where actually she's sort of a slave, just the basics had to give her. I mean, they're abana and they're misake. No, you got to treat her like a wife. Ishto kegufo. Ishto is like your wife. I'm going to see on the next daf, Mem Ches, is the concept, Oli imo b'eni yored this imo. A woman, if she grew up in a poor family, so you only have to give her what she grew up with. If you grew up in a wealthy family, so she comes with you. When she's entitled by being married to you, midrabana, I'm going to explain, she's entitled, ishto kegufo, she gets treated like a wealthy girl. And the opposite is true, that you came from a poor family, she came from a wealthy family. You got to provide her with what her childhood was like. It's very funny that, some people they came from 5 towns, from girls, I'm talking about girls that come from 5 towns, very wealthy families, and then they become from, and then they marry these guys. Sometimes the man is a from guy, Haredi, grew up pretty poor. Sometimes he's a rich guy, also from the 5 towns. They moved to Israel, and they live a bare bones lifestyle. They live, running from gemach to gemach, constantly in debt. They have no money. They have barely any food. They can't even afford chicken during the week, maybe on Shabbos to put in the cholent. It's a violation of takana derabanan, ishto kegufo. You have to. If she was married for wealth, everyone thinks she can marry. It's a great thing to marry a girl with a wealthy father-in-law. No, it's a terrible thing, because you got to provide her with the life that she was accustomed to. If you marry a poor girl, fine. So the father-in-law's not going to help you, but you don't have to, for the rest of your life, make sure she gets an entitled existence. You can treat her in poverty. You can live in poverty, but you can't live in poverty with a girl that grew up wealthy. So many people violate this halacha. I mean, it's constant. You see this. No one cares about these things. Of course, no, Torah, you gotta learn Torah, call it for the rest of your life. But you're violating Takanas Chazal over here. I mean, some say, I think the poskim say, if she's mochel, so then she said, I want this lifestyle, so she can waive the right that she grew up in a wealthy family. But it doesn't say anywhere you can be mochel. That talks about, the Gemara tells you where you can be mochel, or you're not going to be mochel. It doesn't say you can be mochel on that. This is a right, because the Torah is telling you what she needs, right? When you grow up in a wealthy family, you might try to mitzamtzim and live on a poor lifestyle, but it's going to hurt you. The Torah knows better than you. You can't be mochel that. You can't waive that, because you're not really waiving it. Your mechila is not a mechila, because you need it, right? You have to give a poor person, you have to give him de mechsaro asher yechsalo, what he was accustomed to. Otherwise, you're causing tsar to him. That's a derabana. Derabana, you have to treat them ishto kegufo. It's like we explained. Mido rice, a wife's kinyan kaspo. You have a yachas to her. You're zocha in the wife. You have schus. You're zocha in her ma'aseh yadeh. Derabana, and they said she's like gufo, ishto kegufo. You have to treat her like yourself. Oli mo b'nei yoreh simo. And therefore, that's the previous part doesn't argue on this tana. Right? Mido rice, share ksus when also the yigro. We learn out from Amma Ivria. You give her the basic food. Just have sex without having an orgasm and basic clothes. However, midrabbanan, you have to give her nice stuff that would fill her wants, and that's where we introduce the concept tomorrow. Ol imo b'nei yoreh simo. We'll discuss that more tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you tomorrow.